dedicate one to the ladies. Now, summertime sip, babe, need something to keep you cool. Now summertime sip, babe, need something to keep you cool. Better look out now, though, Dave's got something for you. Tell you what it is. I'm your ice cream man, stop me when I'm passing by. On my mind, I'm your ice cream man, stop me when I'm passing by.
Hello and welcome to Swell Season Surf Radio. I am your host, Tyler Brewer. Milk Cult is a fun and innovative ice cream company with an edge. Based out of Washington, D.C., Milk Cult is the brainchild of Ed Cornell and Patrick Griffith, two friends from their respective teenage years that came together to form an ice cream company that pays devotion to the dairy gods. Ed Cornell is an active surfer along the mid-Atlantic coast. He spent some years overseas in Indonesia where he helped come up with the concept for Milk Cult. Ed is our guest on this episode. We jump into the trials and tribulations of starting a business while balancing the surfing side of one's life and much more. All this on this episode of Swell Season. You're going to enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. But before we get going, just need to mention, Swell Season Surf Radio is recorded by the Newsstand Studios at Rockefeller Center in the heart of Manhattan and is distributed by Wax.radio. So hopefully you'll be hearing better sound quality from us in the future, and our episodes will have better sound. This one here was okay, just a little heads up. Ed had some trouble with the headphones, but we make it work, and I think you will enjoy this episode a lot, particularly if you like ice cream or love like really unique flavors. Check out Milk Cult. It's really good. Just go to milkcultdc.com and you're sorted, and they are available in Whole Foods and other places. I definitely recommend checking out. There's some awesome flavors, and it's delicious, and they got some cool gear too, so check them out. But let's get started. Hope you enjoy this interview with Ed Cornell of Milk Cult. And yeah, we'll check you on down the line. They say all my flavors guaranteed to satisfy. One time, boys, I'm your ice cream man. I'm your ice cream man. Ed Cornell, how's it going? Thanks for coming on, man.
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, really appreciate it. I was psyched when you kind of reached out and sent the gear and everything. That was really cool. I've been rocking my long sleeve tee quite a bit, so that's been kind of nice. So yeah, man. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks a lot, man. I think we have met once in person before.
I think
we met once in person at the Fish Fry many years ago.
I was thinking that because I was just like, where do I know this guy from? Because when I was doing the research, and I'm seeing the photos, and I'm like, oh, he looks so familiar. Like, reminds me, I'm like, is he from the Fish Fry or the It Doesn't Not Work show or something with Toddy Stewart? And I saw you were friends with Toddy, and so yeah, I was like, he looks so familiar. Well, welcome to Swell Season, man. For all our listeners, I have to read them your about on your website. So, because I think it's hilarious.
I think I remember. I wrote it a little while ago, so I'll have a vague recollection of what it says.
It's hilarious. I mean, it's like we were two brothers, lovers, friends with burgeoning careers as handymen and chimney sweeps. But after the Great Recession, when everything was fixed and all the chimneys were clean, we had to find a new jobs. We tried teaching and working on a taco truck, respectively. We picked ice cream, and it's really all been downhill from there. Part of the penance we've been assigned to pay for our past transgressions is complete devotion to the ice cream gods. All of our time and energy goes into creating a product that's worthy of their praise. They are unappeased with product made from a premix that others had offered. We offered product crafted completely from scratch, made with time and attention, even though it meant we'd have to sacrifice everything else in our lives. You might think that sounds miserable. Why would you keep subjecting yourselves to such a horrible lifestyle? we keep going because we really enjoy bringing you the best possible product in our own unique way. Also, we're trapped psychologically. So if you need a voiceover for a commercial, I'm available. And but it's hilarious, and it's like there's definitely this irreverence with your whole brand and Milk Cult, and definitely a bit of throwing caution to the wind in some ways, but also very political and also very like you guys stand for something. So it's cool. How really did you get into ice cream?
So most of the text of that is actually pretty true. My business partner Patrick and I, we both went to the same high school, and I'm about 2 years older than him. And we both had lots of different jobs after high school. Mm-hmm. I was working as a handyman, and he was working on a taco truck, and which are like, they're okay jobs, except for when they're really shitty. And I don't know if you ever worked on a food truck before, but like, I'm a big guy.
Think I can
it's
do
like
that.
Not the best.
Yeah, I've thought about it.
It's one of those things where like you really love it until you like can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And so it was like one of those. And I worked in catering, and I really wanted to run a food cart, because I was living in Indonesia and they have these soup bakso carts everywhere. And I just really wanted to, and I'd done a lot with ice cream when I was in high school and college working catering. And I really geeked down on it really hard. And I asked my friend Pat, I was like, hey, do you want to start this ice cream business with me? And he was down. I mean, we both were working like really bad jobs and like
chimney sweeping.
Somebody asked me recently, they were like, yeah, my friend Pat, he worked for a chimney sweep company, and it was one of those places where like they only hired dudes who are on paper. So like you can't quit, or else they tell your parole officer. And it was just like it was just like not the best job, and it was super dangerous too. Yeah. And so somebody asked me recently, they were like, were you nervous at all about starting a business? And in retrospect, we were really, really dumb, but at the same time, we had nothing to lose, because like absolutely anything was going to be better than what we were doing. So it was kind of like, it didn't matter how bad it was going to be way better than what we've been doing previously.
Well, there's something nice and about going into things a little blind or a little naive, maybe, because it's like you kind of you're figuring out the rules and making them up as you go along, and that's kind of fun. And there's a bit of trial and error things, that I'm sure you look back on now and you're like, oh, I never want to experience that again, or whatever. But it's all part of the journey. But I mean, it's. Yeah, I guess I imagine like it's been a really fun time going along and watching this grow.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like what you said in particular about how much you know. If I had known more, I wouldn't have done it at all. So I'm very happy I was as ignorant as I was, because I probably wouldn't have done it. I've been doing it for like 8 or 9, almost 9 years now. So
yeah, it's wild. And then where did you learn to surf? Now you grew up in DC.
Yeah. So I live in Maryland now, but I grew up in DC, and like I'm sure is the case in a lot of parts of like New York and New Jersey, a lot of people spend summers out on the shore. Mm-hmm. And when I was around 16 or 17, some guys I hung out with like started going to the shore on the weekends. And so we go like every weekend we could for all the summers, we go to Ocean City, Maryland. Mm-hmm. And which is some guy I knew, just like I was tagging along, and he was like, hey, do you want to come surfing with us? And I mean, I was a person with no social skills. So I just was like, if I was in the car, I was going to do it. And started surfing with these guys and just like barely. I remember the first time somebody took me surfing, there was a hurricane swell and they gave me a wetsuit that like barely was being held together. And it was like 6 foot plus, like 8 foot sets. And they gave me like an old like pintail, like 6 foot, like step up.
Yeah.
But they had holes in it and just were like, cool. Yeah. Just like paddle out with us. And we went to this place, Ocean City. Was like the beaches were all shut down because the surf was too big. So we had to go up to Indian River, Delaware. And there was just like chunks of an old pier floating through the lineup of the old bridge. And it was just like really nasty. And they were just like, yeah, you'll be fine. And I just, I don't know, like I had skated a lot when I was a kid, and this is something about the culture of surfing really appealed to me. Not because I had anything against team sports or anything like that, but because like, I don't know, like if you grow up in a lot of the regular stuff, like regular scholastic sports and things that you're thrown into, either because of the having to really socially interact with people, if you're like me and a lot of that stuff doesn't come naturally to you, something that you can go and do that is still fairly, private socially, had a lot of appeal to me, and that I could kind of, which is why I liked skateboarding so much.
Well, I love, what I love about surfing and skating, and especially skating when I was younger, not now anyway, because I'll break or shatter me if I do, but is that you have the choice of doing it alone or with people. And that to me was always appealing, because there are times you want that isolation, or you want to be alone in, with your thoughts. And then there are times when it's like quite enjoyable, like getting a nice wave in front of a friend, or a friend getting a nice wave, and having those kind of memories built up over time, like they're kind of nice. So, I mean, that's what I loved about surfing and skating, as a kid, was just that type of freedom. Whereas those team sports always frustrated me, because it just felt so regimented. No, like you have to conform to a certain extent, right? Like, I mean, you have to conform to skate and surf too when you're a teenager, particularly. But those sports, you really, these rules and everything was rigid. And for a lot of creative people, particularly, I think it's difficult to do, or people who just don't want to be as social.
Yeah. And it wasn't even like I was rejecting the rest of the sports, because like I think those were all things that especially when I was a teenager, like I wanted to participate in, but there were just like barriers I couldn't get over. But with surfing, like if you just want to choose to do it, and it's the same with skating, like if you just want to choose to do it, you just can go do it.
Yeah.
The only barrier is like committing time to it. Whereas everything else, it's like, well, you're on a team, you got to make the cut, and like then you got to get minutes to play. And I think those were things that I wanted to do, but I just couldn't. I either athletically wasn't up to par, or just like my social skills were not enough to get me that far. But here was something else that I really could do, as long as I just put the time in.
Now, you've mentioned this a couple times already about your social skills, so I want to dive in here a little bit. I hope you don't mind. But like, what was it?
No, yeah.
When you were younger, and what do you feel now as socially awkward, maybe, or do you feel that now, or do you feel you've grown from that?
Actually, now I feel like, I'm in my 30s now, and I've gotten way better over the past 10 years. But when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I was always in trouble, and then had a really, really long history with substance abuse problems, and just got really into drugs. And there was